Hi friends, Dr. Cam here. So today we're going to talk about Omicron and why is it a variant of concern. So stay tuned. So on November 11, there was significant increase in number of infected individuals in South Africa. And what they've done genomic testing. Genomic testing is basically getting viruses' fingerprints and checking to see if that's different from other variants, which it was. There was two major mutations, and by the way, mutation means changes. There were two major changes between that variant and other variants that we know of, and that's what differentiated it from other variants. What does that really mean? So if there are mutation within a virus, that basically means that there is a chance of decrease in response from our immune system to protect us against the infection, as well as when there is some mutation or changes within the virus, that could mean that the virus could be more transmissible. That doesn't often happen, and I'll explain that a little bit later, but these are some of the possibilities that we need to consider. Let me give you an example. For example, Delta virus has around 13 to 17 different kind of mutations. Omicron has around 50 different mutations, and 30 of that 50 mutations are in the spike protein. What is spike protein that everyone's talking about? So spike protein is basically the key that the virus uses to enter the human cells, and that has become mutated. So these mutations are concerning for several reasons. One, is it more transmissible? That means, let's say in one case, one person can infect two individuals. These mutations that occur, can the infected individual actually infect more than two, maybe 5 or 6 people? So that's first concern. The second concern is does it cause more severe disease? Number 3 is, can it evade immune protection that's offered by either vaccine or natural immunity? Number 4, is it less vulnerable to the existing therapeutics and treatment? And number 5, is there concerning regarding detection of this virus in the way that we normally do with routine testing such as PCR or rapid testing? With alpha variant, we really saw the first variant of concern that was much more transmissible and was associated with more severe disease outcomes. Then we saw beta variant, which was first identified in South Africa, and then we saw gamma, which was more prevalent in Latin America. Our main concern that it gets to a point that it would evade immune protection. And of course, with Delta, we've clearly seen that increase in transmissibility. That being said, increase in mutation doesn't always mean that the virus becomes stronger. Most of the time, actually, it becomes weaker and dies off. But sometimes mutation could actually help the virus to become stronger, more transmissible, and more severe. Let's look at the numbers. The average daily cases in South Africa was 285. Then 1 week later, the average increased to 564. The following week, it hit 1976 individuals a day. And then after a week, it affected 2,750 cases a day, with health official the warning that the numbers could reach actually up to 10,000 a day very soon. And this is very worrisome, that only in 2.5 weeks, Omicron has already surpassed Delta in that specific province and seems to be the dominant variant. When you consider that it took around 3 months for the Alpha to become dominant and 2 months for the Delta to become dominant and less than 3 weeks for Omicron to become dominant, that's concerning. First issue is that how transmissible is Omicron? Unfortunately, at this point, we don't know. As I mentioned earlier, the data from South Africa suggests that it is capable of competing with Delta and becoming the dominant variant in just 2.5 to 3 weeks. But remember, an increase in frequency of specific variant does not necessarily mean that it's more transmissible. It's important to consider some variables such as vaccination rates, following IPAC protocols within that region, following public health guidelines within that region, and other reasons and variables that could impact the increase within that particular region. Issue 2. Can Omicron evade immune protection offered by the vaccine or recovery from prior infections? And we're still waiting for data on this. There is a possibility of Omicron causing reinfection. That's a possibility. However, based on vaccine trials in South Africa and South America, late last year and early this year, where both beta and gamma variants were very common, we saw protection against severe infection remained relatively high. So you're very protected if you have the vaccine, if you have fully vaccinated. Issue 3, is it more severe? Is it less severe? So when it comes to the severity of the disease, again, it's too early to tell. I know there were a number of reports that were coming out that was saying that Omicron causes more mild disease, but these are not data. Remember earlier in South Africa, a lot of cases were happening in 20 to 30 years of age, and we saw that this is not what's happening around the world. So any conclusion about this is premature. Issue 4. Will Omicron impact existing therapeutics or treatments? Again, unfortunately, this has not yet been determined. There are clearly some major concerns that have been expressed regarding the effectiveness of monoclonal antibodies, which I'll explain later if anybody's interested to know, which targets the specific spike protein. With so many mutations on the spike protein, we really have to monitor to see how Omicron fares against these monoclonal therapeutics. On the other hand, it is believed that COVID-19 antivirals pills should remain very effective against these variants because it doesn't target the spike protein, it targets different pieces of the virus. Issue number 5, the diagnostic test. Are they effective? Do they actually work well? So we know that PCR remains highly effective. I'm glad that we have an answer for this particular questions. Even with these new variants, PCR test is very effective. In fact, the mutation that Omicron has, known as the S gene dropout, actually adds some information to the PCR results, which can essentially be used to help identify and monitor cases of this particular variant. That's a really good news. As far as rapid tests go, they're also expected to remain very effective in detecting cases of Omicron, and we don't anticipate any significant impact from the latest variants that occurred in Omicron. So I know I've discussed a lot today, but I hope at least I was able to provide some perspective of this new variant, what has happened and what we're waiting to happen. With scientific facts, we can actually see future more clearly. As long as this virus replicates, we can anticipate more variants. What we have available are the effective vaccines. So please get vaccinated. Get your third dose if you're eligible. We know for a fact that the current vaccines have every reason to at least reduce the severity of the disease, hospitalization, and death. Yes, we like to prevent all infections, so please get vaccinated and get your third dose.